Alrighty, welcome to Full Body Mobility with me, Lukey M. Today we're going to start with some dead hangs. So if you're at the gym, just jump up on a pull-up bar or some sort of overhead bar at a squat rack and hold on for 60 seconds is the aim. If you're doing this at home, an alternative if you don't have something to hang off is to just grab a broomstick or some form of straight apparatus and just hold that bar overhead and perform 10 overhead squats. If possible, definitely go for the dead hangs. Dead hangs are a great universal stretch and decompression tool for the spine, the shoulders, the shoulder blades, everything. So, really, if we can get the dead hangs in, they are a great tool to have in our arsenal. But if we don't have access, we can still get some great benefit with the overhead squats there. So, 60-second hang, my fingers were burning. Next up, with the broomstick, we are going to perform 10 shoulder dislocates. Now we're going to grab that broomstick at a reasonable width to still provide a somewhat amount of challenge, but not so uncomfortable that it feels like our shoulder is actually about to dislocate. If we have access to, only a resistance band is a great option to use in place of the broomstick. Both have pros and cons. If I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the band if I'm entirely honest, but either or will exact a great outcome regardless. This is also another great stretch, great warm up for the shoulders, especially if you've got tight pecs and in the chest as well. That will help get a good stretch on the front, as well as just taking the shoulders through their full range of motion there, over and up behind the head. So, up next, we're getting a little bit unorthodox here. So we're going to go for some Jefferson curls. I'd advise getting yourself a little bit of a platform if you have the mobility for it. So that will allow, as you can see there, the weight to dip down past the toes. However, if you're pretty new to mobility, there's a very good chance if you can't touch your toes, you can probably just do this on flat ground. As far as the Jefferson curl goes, we are really going for a nice, slow, and controlled eccentric. Be very cautious with the Jefferson curl. Obviously, we are completely rounding the spine, and we also have the hamstrings in the fully locked out, lengthened position. So, if you have back pain already, probably start this one body weight, but feel free to add some very light weight and really go for that nice, slow 5-second eccentric. Besides that, rounding the lower spine with control and with the appropriate strength and stability is not something you should be afraid of. Our lower back is a bunch of muscles, just like any other muscle in the body. So important to train that one. Alrighty, up next, we're going for some world's greatest stretch, aka thoracic rotations. We're going to go in a sort of split stance, leg back position here. And as you can see, I'm rotating up, pulling my hand as far back as I can, rotating through the thoracic spine, and then reaching down under beneath through my arms as far as I can there, rotating in the other direction. I'm going to go for 5 reps on either side. Now, again, if you are new to mobility and if getting in this position is quite awkward, we can also perform this in just an all fours position. So that would be knees directly on the ground below the hips and hands in the same orientation and just going for the same motion. However, they don't call it the world's greatest stretch for no reason. Bringing that leg forward will also get you a marvelous stretch on the hamstrings and the glutes, as well as the hip flexors on that trailing leg that is maintaining that stance there. So if we can get into this position, it is a really good one to take advantage of. So I advise at least giving it a try. However, it is quite difficult. We can go in that all fours position. Alrighty, now we're starting to turn up the gas with some single leg good mornings. These might look pretty redundant or not intense, but trust me, if you do these properly, holy moly, you're going to feel the burn. We are going to have one leg completely locked out, balancing on one leg at a time. And we are going to Send our hips backward and lean forward. Now, my hands are positioned on my back intentionally to one, maintain a nice neutral spine, and two, as soon as I feel my lower back round as a result of me pushing my hips back, I'm going to pause and I'm going to stand back up. So the hand is sort of feeling for the lower back. As soon as I feel my lower back start to round and come forward, I've reached the limit of my hamstrings. So there's no need to go any lower there. As soon as you feel it, contract and stand back up. The stability and balance aspect of this movement will be quite a challenge. So 10 reps is the goal. If you're, again, pretty new to this, if you can only get 5 reps, that's fine. But working up to 10 reps on each leg, and if we still have strength left in our hamstrings, we will also go for a 10-second hold on the last rep, as you can see me doing here. Now, believe me, this is absolutely killing my hamstrings. And I'm someone who's pretty mobile in general, but my hamstrings are my personal weak point. So this one is quite a challenge for myself. Once we've done reps on one side, I'd also advise starting with the weaker side. If you know that one side is weaker than the other, start on the weaker side for that one. But alas, once we've done 10 or however many reps on one side, we're going to repeat the same number of reps on the other side. Again, just keeping that floating leg up in the air off the ground at sort of that 90-degree angle there. I just had to spit at me gum. And pretty well just rinsing and repeating the same on the other side. Main note for this one is just to keep that leg that is doing the hard work fully locked out. Do not bend the knee in any sort of fashion during this movement, otherwise you'll take the tension off the hamstring. We're not going for Romanian deadlifts. In this case, we are going for the good morning. So that is basically a stiff-legged deadlift, for lack of a better description. The good morning, obviously, a very good one for lengthening the hamstring and improving our hamstring mobility. Here's the 10-second hold. My ass is on fire. Beautiful. Alrighty. Coming up next, we are going to have some glute bridge walkouts. Now, this is a pretty mean combo, especially after the good morning. So feel free to have a little rest in between those exercises if you need. However, we are going to march our heels out as far as we can while still keeping our ass off the ground, and then bringing the heels back in line with the knees there. So this will really get a burn on the hamstrings if they weren't already on fire. Now that we've increased the length, we need to build a bit of strength in that newfound range of motion. So that's the aim of these glute bridge walkouts. Should have really called them hamstring walkouts at this point in the game, because you're going to feel them in the hammies after the last little exercise. But regardless, inching out one little step at a time, keeping the hips up off the ground, go as far as you can tolerate, and then bringing the legs back up towards the knees. This one definitely sucks. It sucks as much as it looks. So I hope you're really enjoying this one as you're working along with me. But alas, we're building a few different points of strength here. We're also going to get some glute and some lower back action as we keep our hips up off the ground. So few different points that we are training here. Give these ones a crack. They burn like nothing else. You can see me grabbing my ass there. Alrighty, next up, we have some active pigeon stretch. So we're going to bring that leg forward in line straight below the shoulder, I suppose you could say there. And we're going to bring it out to the side, just popping it out under through the armpits and going as low as we can tolerate. Keep this one slow and controlled. This is hip external rotation we're training here. If getting in this position is, as you can see on the screen, really difficult even for me, there is an alternative we can perform which is a bit regressed and offers a bit more stability and a bit less intensity. That is the 90-90 hip stretch. You can see that on the right-hand side there. It will basically perform very similar outcomes. You won't get as much of the external rotation as you would with the active pigeon. However, we all need to start somewhere. So if the pigeon's a bit too much for you, feel free to go for that 90-90 variation you can see on screen there. Still, aim of the game is the exact same. We're going for 10 reps on each side. Going for the pigeon or the 90-90, make sure that you are actively driving that knee towards the ground. That is still a goal, whether you're doing the pigeon or the 90-90. You'll feel that. If you do these correctly, you will definitely feel them in the glute of the leg you are sending down. Holy moly, as well as your abductors there too. So very good stretch, one that I even myself need to do a little bit more of. You can go, you can see me busting my ass in that last rep there. Alrighty, up next, we're shouting out to the Karate Kid and going for some horse stance squats. So I'm going to take 5 lateral shuffles out with my heels. And I'm going to sit down as deep as I can into my hips, maintaining as upright of a torso as possible. Staying upright is very important in this one, as that's what we're trying to train, is the hip rotation there. So you'll see me performing these from the front on angle here. These ones really light the hips up, similar to a sumo squat. However, you can see here that I'm going quite vertical with my torso. That is a very key note there. If balance is something that's really difficult for you throughout this horse squat motion, you'll see here that I will put my hands out in front, and that will act essentially as a little bit of a counterweight, just to help me stay stabilized and help me stay upright. We're also going to go for a 10-second hold on that last rep in that horse stance, sinking down nice and deep and then coming up. That one sucks, FYI. Alas, now we're going to move on to the wrists. This is definitely an overlooked joint of the body, I suppose, but still an important one to train. We're going to do some wrist rocks with the palms facing down on the ground. I'm just in the standard tabletop all fours position, kneeling position. I'm just facing downwards, knees directly below hips, palms directly below shoulders, and I'm just going to rock in clockwise and counterclockwise directions. If your wrists are quite durable and strong and you want to increase the intensity, you can go for the all fours wrist rocks here. However, that will increase the load and the intensity and the stability requirements on the wrists. So if you are quite new to this, I would heavily advise sticking to this variation just on hands and knees, as it will give you a lot more control and ability to modulate the amount of tension and force you're putting through your wrists. These ones hurt. If you're not really familiar with putting load directly through the wrist in these positions, you will really feel it. So feel free to take a break there. Aim is 2 sets of 10 reps in both directions. So 1 clockwise and 1 counterclockwise rotation equals 1 repetition. If you have any wearables on your wrist, such as a watch, I would advise taking them off because they will likely impede on doing this exercise properly. So I took my watch off personally, but I'll leave that up to you. Last, we are training flexion of the wrists here. If you want to, another note for the wrist rocks, try and lift your palms up in the direction that they are facing, especially in that lengthened position. So now we're going for wrist rocks with the palms up. 1 set only on this orientation for 10 reps, as obviously this is quite an uncomfortable position for the wrists. So a little bit less tolerance there as far as stress goes. However, we still do need to train the wrists in both orientations. So we will go for the palms up variation as well. Again, 10 reps in both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise. Me personally, I sit back into my hips a little bit more just to let off a bit of tension because more likely than not, your wrist will not be used to taking a good amount of force in that position. Last one to finish us off, we are going to go for some palm peels. So now we're working on the fingers. Similar position to the wrist rocks, except we're going to have our fingers facing inwards towards the knees, and we're going to peel our palms back off of the ground. So we trained the wrist before, now we are training our fingers directly. I'm trying to, as best I can, keep a decent amount of tension on my fingers as I peel them up. As soon as I get them to that vertical sort of point there, I'm going to roll back and plant them back on the ground. Important to train flexible, mobile fingers as well. That will give you the complete grip strength package, as well as just keeping your fingers healthy and lubricated. So, 10 reps there, pretty short and sweet one. Just peeling the palms back and then gluing them back to the floor for 10 repetitions. That will just about wrap up our full body mobility routine after we finish these palm peel aways. That's pretty well covered majority of the joints in the body. Great initial one to start out with. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this session and I hope you feel a little bit more greased up and lubricated. Alrighty, I'll see you on the next one.